record.
Me too.
We ready to go live?
Yes.
Okay. All righty then. We'll try this puppy once more. Okay. According to Zoom, we are live. Now no, not you. Well, you can't hit anything even gently. But what it doesn't change the whole thing. Oh, that was interesting. Was that you?
That was me, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so here we go. Once more. Let's try it with gusto this time. Well, not like we weren't trying it with gusto before. Okay, so there's no one. Oh, there we go. Jennifer Brown. Yay. Hey, Jennifer. Is it staticky for you or is it clear? Are you hearing noise or are you hearing well us? I guess don't answer that. If you think this is, I don't know.
Are you
smart
hearing
ass
voices?
Yeah, you really want to ask that question that way? Okay. But we were having trouble with some background noise before, and so trying to get a handle on whether or not it's situated. So I'm waiting for the delay. It's such a delay. Either James or Jennifer. I'm hoping James came back. Oh, there he is. Sounds good now, he says. All right, awesome. Okay. Well, what was so weird too is that you actually said when we first connected back the second time here that it started out like you could hear it, right?
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. I was like, okay, I can deal with this. And then when we got live, it was like, I was like, oh no.
Oh, well, okay. So
I don't know.
That's very interesting too, because all of a sudden I started wondering, because I told you what feels like it's coursing through me, and it does. It goes in waves. And it's such a huge energy that I honestly, sometimes I have to step back from it because it feels like I'm trying to slurp out of a fire hose. So that when more than one person is telling me that this is going on and I can't hear anything, well, well, where's it coming from, Sheila? So I don't know.
Very odd. Yeah,
I know, right? Okay, so my name is Sheila Corona. This is Corona Rising, and I am joined this evening by my good friend Crystal J. Hemphill from Journey Into It. And actually, when we started earlier, I kind of skipped over something that I'd like to back up now and say, because I started the title here of what is inner work. And the reason I did that is that even though those videos no longer live on my channel, I've shared many times, they are available. Anything I've ever appeared in with other beings can be located at those channels that are featured at the bottom of my channel. But I think I wanted to point out about what is inner work first, because when I very first began looking into myself, trying to get a handle on, actually, it started with me trying to understand why I had such visceral reactions to things. And that's the way they felt, visceral reactions. They weren't responses. They didn't have any thought or presence to them. And I was at that time working diligently on my communication skills with my partner of that time, because we were not communicating very well at all, really. And I became very cognizant of the fact that I had really thoughts and feelings that things weren't going the way I wanted them to, and I wanted to see what my role in it was. That's all I knew. But then I started hearing this stuff about inner work. And I'm like, what the fuck? What does that mean? All of these folks out here that want to talk about that. What does it mean? And how does one start? And it was so subtle and so I just couldn't grok it. I wasn't in a frequential neighborhood that was grasping what any of that meant. And
the go within concept.
Go in where? Tell me what's the directions there, where you're telling me to go, and I will go there. I know how to walk. But that wasn't what anybody was talking about. And I really did have that desire to know. And well, as it turns out, there's been a lot of inner work that I didn't realize, and I wouldn't have known to classify it as such. Well, I really was hoping that you would, everybody has their own terminologies too. So if you don't mind, I would love for you to share what your version, your vision, your feeling that you have had about inner work, and then also, your experience of it, of your own, right?
Yeah.
Mine.
Well, mine started out much the same. The questions. Why? Why do I do certain things? Why do I react in certain ways? Why does this certain experience tend to lead me into this emotion, this feeling? I knew there was something there that needed to be discovered. And I couldn't stop digging. Like, I had to find out why, what, how, who, when, where, whatever the case was. And that's initially what led me into this, the questions of self. And back then I had no idea that there was a term for it. I had no idea about any of those things. And I guess the further I went along in this, I don't want to say this cycle. Well, it kind of is this cycle of self-discovery, wanting to know every part of you, wanting to know, the ins and outs of what makes you, act and do and be and whatever the case may be, the whole you. And I wanted to know that. And throughout this cycle, I began to realize that if something was coming to the surface, if something was going on unconsciously, it would continuously show up in my experiences in my day-to-day. And as I progressed in this, what I now know to be the shadow work in itself, or the inner work, healing the inner child, whatever you want to call it, digging into your darkness, whatever. I had read, which made so much sense to me, Carl Jung, when he said something along the lines of, when we let the unconscious go, when we repress it and push it away. Now, these aren't his exact words, I'm trying to remember, but when we repress it and push it away, it will continuously show up in our everyday experience, right? And I was like, well, no, like, I get that. I totally get it, because I began to see how those things would show up for me. And if you're paying attention, your unconscious, your experience is completely speaking to you those things that need to be brought forth to attention. But he also ended it with something along the lines, and we will say that it's fate, that we will call it and chalk it up to fate. Yeah. No, fate, to me, life is not meant to be experienced feeling down all the time, feeling, lethargic and sad and depressed and scared to make moves and scared to live. It's not meant, that's not fate to me. Life should not be meant that way and meant to be experienced that way. So that's what got my wheels a turning back then, diving into my own self. And not only that, I had a natural quirk for just helping to assist other people in that process as well. The ability to go into that darkness and pull something out. Let's bring this forth. Let's shine a light on it. Let's discover you, because it feels freaking fantastic over here to know the whole me. So there's my
That's your elevator speech. No, I love it. That's what I wanted. That's exactly what I wanted. James said, I heard it a few times when you were on by your, that was from before. So that was exactly what I wanted to hear, because I now have a better grokking, a better understanding, if you will, in regards to what it is too, where I didn't before. And I'm going to use this terminology. What I now have been shown for me is that every thought that I think, every bit of data that comes to me from the outside comes through my experiential filter and is colored by that experiential filter. My experiential filter, which consists of my 60 years in this particular vessel, has had trauma after trauma after trauma that has been unresolved and piled upon with more misinformation, disinformation about the truth of who I am, what the situation was, all of those things, because now I know that nothing has ever been what it seems, ever, on any sort of level. And so as I moved through my life, not knowing and keeping that right here in the forefront of my consciousness, if you will, as I move and discover more of these traumas, because that is the state of consciousness from which I was behaving. On every level of my life, it was coming from a traumatic state of consciousness. So anyone, I now feel, anyone and everyone, we are only capable in those moments, if we have not sought to get to the bottom of it, feel it, release it, think it, and let it go. It is from that traumatized state of consciousness that all data is washed through. And it can be no other way. And so for me, coming to that at this juncture, that's partly what makes what you have developed here with the 32UD program very important for those who feel a resonance with you to embark upon the discovery of all of that for themselves, within themselves. And I feel, like I said, I know you weren't home and didn't catch this morning, but I said in my live, I'm very proud to say that I am the first graduate, actually, of the 32UD program, because you and I, when we got together to start it, this is what we were talking about a little earlier. Tell everybody what you said to me, because you got a little information about it from the beginning.
Yeah, so we showed up, gonna do the first session, gonna go through this 5-week process, and which I had already had a feeling, because I had done kind of hinted around at it. And but anyways, so we're sitting there talking, and we realized you've already been through that. You've already been through the D program, like the whole total version of it, through this span of time that we've known each other. And you kept saying you were the product of, or what else did you use?
Well, I said graduate, but the first time, you're right. I said I am a product of, I'm the finished product of the 32UD program. I see that very clearly too. When we first talked about my going through your program on camera so everybody could see what it looks like, right? Because that's what I know I signed up for, and I'm okay with that. Because I know that there's still stuff in here. Nobody's ever done finding trauma, right? But
no, it's housekeeping after that.
right. And so I said that I was the product, the finished product, or of the program, really. But you actually said that you heard something else.
Yeah, this message, every time you would say something like that, this message kept just screaming at me. No, the catalyst.
And I want you to know that I take that and I accept that. And I'll tell you why I do. Because the very first time I met you, the very first thing we ever did together, I believe I said to you, my words were, I don't know why, but I know that we're going to be doing something together. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it looks like. And I don't know what the end result will be, but I know we'll be doing something together. My desire for seeing myself, your desire for how you have gone through your life doing the shadow work for yourself, and your willingness. I want to be very clear on this. You were nudged, you were drawn to me, magnetically drawn, and even though we didn't realize it, that's what we were doing. So you're right. I was the catalyst. I will own that now. And I will also own to say that obviously this is a huge validation for me, because together, and I benefited greatly. I mean, I'm sorry. Anybody see how I behaved a year and a half ago? Almost 2 years now before I started. And if you doubt any of that, take a look at what was going on over on BZ Rieger's channel to see the state of my consciousness before I started doing these sorts of things with these lovely beings. Because, this has been very huge for me on so many levels. And I cannot recommend enough what you're doing in the way. Because also, the other reason I feel strongly about this, Crystal, is that you, just like what I've been doing with Lisa and her soul-to-soul consultations, it is a method that you have developed that, yes, you are assisting the other being, but you are also teaching them how to help themselves.
Yes.
It's not something that they will need to now rely upon you to be able to do.
Yep.
And it's the same with, like I said, the soul-to-soul consultations. And there was something you had said earlier. I know for me, finding out that I am in the human design what's called a projector, meaning that I can see very easily into someone else's field, but I know that I had an issue seeing into my own. Well, I know that you too are a projector, because that's what I did. I surrounded myself with a bunch of projectors on purpose. I now see that so that you guys could help me see me. And so I know that you're not all that familiar with that, but I wanted everybody else to know too. To me, having a projector that can see into your field, help you with this kind of work.
Oh, yeah.
And not to mention somebody who can also hear your higher self. Boy, I'm telling you, that to me is like golden. Because the other thing that I noticed about working with you and with Lisa too, I will say that, is that it's the higher self, that portion of me. This is not, I'm going to Crystal to fix me. That ain't how this works. Or I'm going over here because so-and-so can fix me.
It's so wonderful that you said that, because it was probably about 2 or 3 minutes back. I always know when it's your higher self. It's it's just that very, I don't know, just the tone. I know it's your higher self. And I wanted to bring forth the point that, hey, you're not broken, or you're not coming to get fixed. Let's make that very, very clear. So I'm glad so you must have been getting that same download of information coming through. Awesome.
Well, because, hey, listen, this, first of all, when that's part of what the part for me, when I first started looking into, and I'm using air quotes here because there doesn't seem to be any reason why not to. First of all, when I first started looking into spirituality and new age and all that kind of stuff, right? There was a whole lot of stuff that didn't seem to jive for me. I mean, again, I could maybe get some of it. Some of it just didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me, right? And I couldn't even really just put my finger on the why of it. But that is a part of it, because it's in some cases I've seen where it's okay, well, so you know better than me. Can you fix me? And that's not, there's plenty of folks who will tell you, yeah, for $29.95 once a month, I can hook you up for whatever you know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to,
and those are probably just Band-Aids. They
may work for a time. And if one feels drawn, one should go. That's the thing about that. You know what I mean? But the true inner work, it will tell you right up front. This is all me. I have to decide if this is what I want, and I have to do the work. It's not like, like I said, my higher self has said plenty of times to both you and Lisa. She knows. I mean, listen, go look at my BQH.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of the attitude that they presented on our first BQH session. She knows.
Yeah, right. She knows. She knows. And so, yeah, this was a long drawn out way to say that we're not going to actually do the deep program, because, and when we started talking about it, I wanted to be very clear with everyone that it's so the way that you designed it, the way that it just goes is so unique for each being.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely.
Because you have at your disposal many different methods of, assisting and getting to the bottom of things within your, arsenal, the beyond quantum healing hypnosis, situation. Okay. You have that, the BQH, you have tarot, you have, the fact that you can communicate with not only your guides, but their guides, the whole.
Yeah, the biggest one being the intuition, definitely. The connection, the connection from me to you.
Right. So it hit me, especially over the last few days, how important it is to, if one is seeking this sort of expansion in their life. And, that's the main thing. It has to be something a body really, truly desires to do. Moving towards those that they feel a resonance with is key, because like I said, for me, being involved with you and being, like I said, involved with the development of this whole program, and therefore being able to experience what you've done here in a different sort of way, because Now it's very focused. And that was kind of why I had hoped that we could, do it and show folks, kind of what it would feel like to do that, were your issues similar to mine.
It's funny too, because, I was so excited. I was like, yeah, we're going to do the 5 weeks and I get to work with you on that level. And then we go into that first session and it's like, you don't need this. Hold on. And then at first there was that little switch of disappointment. And I was like, no, this is great. This is wonderful.
Well, and I want to say too that just so you know, my feeling is that because we already do this, as things come up that I am unable to get to the bottom of for myself, the next time we'll just hook it up, man. We'll just do a recording and show, because and
see, even on that, what I hear is
what?
You're equipped. You are equipped.
Yeah, I know. Well,
so I know, like, in all honesty, like, I know that, first, when I came to you, I literally like hopped up out of my sleep and was jotting all this stuff down. My mind was just whirling with all these things that I want to do. And so I started slowly putting this together and I started telling you about it. And you was like, hey, I want to be the first one. And there was just this feeling inside, like, you're probably not going to need it. It didn't say that in the sense, but there was just that notion, that feeling coming across me. And so I went ahead and put some other people through the D program, right? And what was my point to this? I was getting to something.
I don't know. You talked about being excited, jumping out of bed and writing things down.
Yeah. So. But anyway, so I don't know where I was really truly going with this, other than the fact that, I was really excited to put you through this program, but you have everything that you really need. On some level, you truly, truly know that. Oh, this was my point. And I know, like, so when we started to discuss, doing this and broadcasting it, and still there was that feeling that, well, let's go into this with no expectations. There may not even, I kept saying, there may not even be anything. And then we show up to that session and there truly is nothing. No big roots that need to be brought to the light or anything like that. And I know in my heart that you are putting forth that foot and wanting to promote what I'm doing and things like that. But in all honesty, even when we was going to do the 5 weeks, I wasn't excited because we were going to be broadcasting it, or because I get to show or advertise or anything like that. I was excited because working on that level with someone I'm getting cold chills, just feeling into that feeling, to have someone to be able to express themselves in that manner and bring forth those things from the unconscious, it excites me inside. So, like, I know that it was like a promotional thing, that you have that belief in me, and I'm so grateful for that. But on that other level, I just got to say, my excitement stemmed from wanting to work on that level with you.
Well, like I know that we already have done huge work together. A lot of it's at times off camera.
Yes.
There has been some that does live on your channel, but yes, a lot of times it was really late, and it was either through private message links or just
or those I can't sleep nights.
Yeah, it's 2 a.m. I can't sleep. What are you doing? Kind of things. But no, you are right. I am. Well, okay. So it's not just that I'm grateful for your assist. Okay. It is too that I feel like there are everyone has a translator.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not a translator for everyone. I'm just not. Neither are you, neither is Lisa. That is why it is important that anyone, and it doesn't matter who it is, what they're doing, what they feel drawn to do, showing up and doing what one feels drawn to do is important. And seeing how, for me personally, this was so helpful, even in the creative pulling it together stages, as you were saying, oh, hey, that works really well with Sheila, and this one over here, so that's going in the program, and this over here is work, and hey, we're pulling this in now because, hey, that's
because
working.
it worked for me.
right, and it's working for this, so it will work for others. And you're right, I anything and everything that has worked for me, I feel very passionate about making sure others hear about it. And like I said, so I know that is a part of it for me, because I was kind of disappointed about that part, but not gonna lie, kind of excited and happy about the fact that, hey, wait a minute, it's really not as bad up in here anymore as it used to be. And so that's all good news,
Oh yeah.
So, but I also I also know too, like I said, that I'm not finished, right? There is no finish. It's not like, this is a path. And this is, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It simply moves in and out of form. And there's lots and lots and lots that has taken place within my energy field within the 60 years I've been on this planet.
Oh, wow. I got to jot something down real quick. I just got a rush of some information coming through. You just triggered something for me.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. I love that. I really feel as though there will be more. I'm not finished. I mean, yeah, maybe some big stuff is, but I still feel like, and for me, knowing that you and I have worked so well in the past, it's very comforting to me to know that you're there for me to, contact you and say, hey, I got this going on. Anything you can, what do you sense of? Because again, sometimes for me, it's just, I'm too close to it. I can't get a handle on it. And I will say it's a little easier sometimes to have someone point it out.
I think the only thing that needs to be released in a sense is like an energetic, remember how I said housekeeping? It's like sweeping away the residual notion of there's always going to be something. Okay. Because if you have your mind fixated in that way, of course, you're also recording that as well. So,
right.
There always
so I don't want to pull that in either.
Right. Who says there always has to be something, So,
well, that's true. We've had some really big shifts.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Well, so the negative nanny that wants to sit in the back and say, well, okay, great. We got Crystal on speed dial. So we're good. We're golden. And not only do I got Crystal, I got Lisa, and I got my higher self, because I'm really, like I said to you before, that fire hose is, my lips aren't quite gone, but it feels like I'm like I've said before, the communication superhighway is widening.
Yeah.
And so the seamless superhighway is really well, I can't say it's slowing down quite yet.
I think you said it best a long time ago. You really shook something inside me when you said more of you coming into you. And that's absolutely right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
That's the only way
the
I can explain.
more, it's like the more that you can do these self-realizations and self-discovery and expand upon you, the more you're going to have access to you. And that's on a multidimensional level.
Yeah, you know what? Let me share with you from what you just said right there. You helped me. There was something in my visual that just came through about, remember how before I was talking about we as beings having been so traumatized, we come from a particular state of consciousness where that trauma is not only affecting everything we've ever thought, we've ever felt, we ever did, but it continues to affect everything we've ever thought, we've ever felt, we've ever done. And it continues to until that trauma is begun to be peeled away a bit.
Yes.
Looked at, and I've been shown very much so over the last week in particular how any assumptions I might place on even my own trauma actually sort of begins to solidify it, even if it's a false memory or anything else. So looking into it, and I've also seen it where it's by looking into it, feeling into it, releasing it, thinking it, experiencing it, letting it go, all the things that we do with that, seeing that, oh, hey, wait a minute, the state of consciousness that I was in and that those beings were in at that time was not a great state of consciousness. I see now what actually did happen here and how it affected me. And oh crap, it caused that over there too. And all of these other things. And all that did for me was serve to expand the consciousness level. And now I step over top of that trauma and I experience my world, my reality from a completely different state of consciousness.
Now I got a question on that. Now do you understand the way that I would say I feel like I'm kind of in the middle of a whirlwind, you know, watching things out here, or I would say up here and looking down at these specific things. And I remember saying stuff like, it feels like my consciousness is out there, or, you know, little me sure is right here, but my consciousness is out here operating on a completely different level. Does that make sense now?
It makes perfect sense. Yes, ma'am. And also for me, it describes, you know, my feeling of certain things existing slightly out of phase or in another realm as well, right? So yeah. The more I step up, like in my consciousness, now that trauma, the misunderstandings, the misinformation, the disinformation, all the wrong stuff that I was holding in my field that was associated with that trauma has been swept clean, let's say with that, for that particular thing, right? And that sort of leveled me up, so to speak, to where that state of consciousness is now more expansive.
It's almost like operating in transparency, whereas before it was, you know, the unconscious working automatically kind of in that without introspection or awareness even. So now there's this complete and total transparency to it all.
Yeah, actually, through this conversation with you right this minute, I am actually seeing how it is that inner work, honestly, is the key to consciousness expansion on every level. It can be no other way.
Yep.
Because from that that state of trauma, that is a lower frequency that cannot just be stepped out of without resolving the wound that exists. And so, okay, so for me, myself, I see very clearly part of this whole being driven to speak, right? To being driven to tell the truth. Because as a child, when I told the truth, I was belittled and told I was wrong and told I was lying and told that wasn't true and all of those things. That was from a place of trauma. But it was mine to do then, and it's mine to do now. You see what I'm saying? It was the trauma in between that sort of colored it and made it so that I didn't trust myself on any sort of level. And well, how could I? How could anyone, when as the little being that just has forgotten everything about who they are, is still in God frequency? This is what we do to our children. Just to be very clear, I've seen this so very clearly now because I'm watching my granddaughter, and I know what kind of programming and conditioning I had and what I perpetrated on my child. And I see how this trauma, and we have all done it to each other quite by accident, I feel, partly due to not being present in the moment and having this erroneous feeling, I feel now at least, that these children must be molded and shaped by, oh, wait a minute, all the traumatized adults on the planet. Okay, because that doesn't make any sense. Right? So, I mean, because I can see very clearly where I've made assumptions about different kinds of things and they weren't correct, leading to more misinformation, disinformation on my own side with not anybody else involved here. We're talking about just all on my little old self.
Yeah. Kind of that social conditioning, limited beliefs. I feel like there's different, layers to shadow work. And I feel like what you're talking on is like the group, maybe even a little bit of collective shadow, the family shadow. There's not just, oh, we have these personal inner wounds that we need to take care of. No, there's different levels to that.
Yes, very much so. James was saying kind of like how some of these cars you can put in valet mode, so everything's not available. So we go within and do the work and get more keys.
I like that.
Unlock more of ourselves, giving us more abilities. Absolutely. Because I'm sorry, but you know what? I'm pretty sure my higher self is not going to allow this little bitty tiny me to have any kind of insight into anything if I can't even stop acting like a 2-year-old for 5 damn seconds. Right? Who would do that in their right mind?
You get the keys to those doors.
Right. He also says we're not always going to dance in the vortex. Sometimes we get tumbled around. Well, ain't that the truth? Jennifer said, gosh, I love that level of becoming more and more aware of what we put out there and how. Well, yes, but for me, observing of myself and then watching what transpires in my field has been key to a lot of it. James said, stepping more into our multidimensionality, faceted consciousness for a more unified field of view. Yeah, I keep being shown like a giant diamond sort of shape, right? With all the teeny tiny little facets. You know what I mean by the facets, right?
Yeah.
And each one of us, each singularity is looking out at creation through our own teeny tiny little facet. And that teeny tiny little facet is the compilation of all our experiences while in this physicality. And that is all goes into the uniqueness of what this experience, the whole reality is. And I don't want to change your, why I said this morning, it's like everybody's lined up at their own porthole, right? We want to get mad because you can't see what I'm looking at out of my porthole. Huh? How about we just say, oh, I got this out of my porthole. What you got out of yours? And we put them together. That's why I see that's the whole puzzle piece collecting thing. Nobody's supposed to have all the answers. We got to let that go, man.
Yeah.
Got to let it go. So, yes, James said that's what he keeps saying too, the whole faceted thing. And it's meant to be that way. That whole thing about, I want to be like everybody else. I want to be normal.
But you are. But you are.
Yes, you are uniquely you, and each are uniquely each, you know? Well, Crystal, in a lot of ways, I too am disappointed that we don't get to do this because, like I said, I do want to assist in you following your heart's desire, and anything that I can do to, if anyone ever has any questions, you do offer free consultations too to folks, and you had some issue with your website. That was another reason why I felt to assist here, because there were some beings that, wish to have that consultation, but you weren't notified.
Yeah, I had a little backlog of scheduled sessions that I knew nothing about. So.
Right. So if you're one of those beings and you haven't heard from Crystal, please do reach out, journeyintuit@gmail.com. And, you guys can get together and put it together. You and Lisa, I was hoping that we could do some things, coming up here together, all three of us. And we're going to do that in private sessions. That's kind of what we were talking about when what I've shared several times that I'm taking names for, right? And we're not real sure what those conversations are going to be, but I'm sure that a lot of it will be about different ways of looking inside. Don't you feel like that?
Maybe we could do like a little collaboration to where it's like a group. We can call it a healing or whatever, But that's what I'm gonna envisioning. Like, I don't know. I keep getting this nudge to throw the word out of collaboration, and so let me put that out there again.
Well, you want me to tell you partly why? Because because I get that too, and I'll tell you why I'm feeling it, and then you see how you feel about it. It is time for collaboration on a huge scale. This is that gathering energy that I've been feeling. The beings who are ready now to acknowledge the more of them that has come in to work in co-creative, conscious ways of moving this new forward, because that all is crumbling, and it is, I know that it is going under its own weight just as fast as everybody's ready for it to go. I know it is. So I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to think about that. And I'm not going to be concerned about that. What I'm more interested in personally, and I know that you are too, and so is Lisa. This is why both of our channels are sort of in this collab, if you will, right? Of building the new way of communicating with each other, the new way of inner work, the new way of living completely in transparency and being okay with everyone, just, exuding that unconditional love and finding what makes one's heart sing without beating each other up and thinking, because a lot of that ends up happening sometimes, when you see other things out here, because folks get in that defensive mode and, that sort of thing, because they can't see inside themselves or they're afraid of being left out. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. I've been a part of it.
Yes.
Right. Now I've perpetrated it. So I'm not sitting here saying I hadn't. So don't think I'm, all that in a bag of chips, because, that's how we expand, right? And so for me, I feel like that is part of what you're feeling, because I've kind of felt that it's when I first started this channel, one of the first or second videos I did with Lisa was, is this the clarion call? And I thought it was then, right? What I was feeling then. And I see now that it just, whatever I was feeling then in regards to community, I thought, based on my experiences, it was going to be a specific sort of way, right? I see how I wasn't ready for what I now see coming, right? Then. So I don't know. Am I ready now? I guess we'll see, right? Because it feels closer.
Oh, you're ready. You're ready.
I feel
back then I definitely wouldn't have been ready either.
Hyun Fang, yes, we are live. Somebody's asking if we're live. James said, building those pathways of connectivity. Yes. Because I do feel like they're, again, when I was sharing that the inner work that I've done, I feel as though has expanded my conscious awareness and has some of those veils are still a little gossamer, right? Like there's things that are coming into view. They're not fully viewed, but they're coming into view, and there are more coming, right? So the more I've done there, the more that has been able to come in, because now that baggage is out. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Because the little me, the little ego personality, smarmy me only had so much room in here. And as long as the personality was carrying around all this traumatic baggage, well, I didn't have any room for the larger portion of me that was ready to enter. And until now, I don't know, we'll see. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm not quite sure. There's messages that are being held by Hyun Fang. I'm not quite sure why it's being hidden, but I don't know what's going on, Hyun Fang. I'll just tell you that. Something about watching videos of China, but I don't have any idea what that's about. So I'm just going to let that go. And, but I wanted to say to you that I feel like that's, for me, part of what you're feeling. Now, I know that I feel the same way. There's more collabs coming, like I know, and I'm getting really dizzy at the moment because I know there are a couple of other beings that surround you and I that I have felt there's something yet to go on with those beings in us. Again, what that is, what that will look like. A lot of times I don't get a lot, even when I get in someone's field. Like I still knew there was work we were going to do, but I had no. And even as we were doing the work, it's not like I said, oh, this is what it is. No, it wasn't until after the work is over. Then that's what. Okay, now I get
it. What's fascinating to me is that every message that comes through that I'm hearing from what I know to be your higher self, I'm now finding that I don't even have to relay those to you, that maybe 4 or 5 seconds after they come through, you legit speak whatever just came through. So I think that's fascinating.
Well, can I tell you something now? Lisa told me once a long time ago that she too speaks to people's higher selves. And at first, she didn't trust herself because what she was getting up here was not what she was getting down here. And she didn't realize. And then later, she was like, oh, wait a minute. It's because of the distortion, it's not getting through. Right. So when she said to me that I was the most congruent person she'd ever met, one of the most congruent persons, I didn't understand that at first, but now I do. And again, because you're sharing that with me, right? I used to hold it that I wasn't connected in any sort of way, right?
Oh, I know.
There was a whole conference, there was lots of conversations about the fact that Sheila thinks she's not connected until I could see it. And that's why I feel like it's so important that everybody get that we are all of us connected, every one of us.
Yeah.
In ways that we just haven't allowed ourselves to discover yet.
Yeah.
At least that's the way it feels to me.
But also unpacking that baggage clears up that channel for that connection.
That's true. That's why, that is again why I feel, compelled to share with everyone these wonderful things like what you've got, what Lisa's got going, what Julia's got going, because they're helpful to whomever one feels drawn.
Yep.
Because I'm telling you, I couldn't do the kind of work that I've done with other beings that I love dearly. I love these other beings dearly, and I want to have close relationships with these other beings. But the little me couldn't get out of the way long enough to do the work. And most often, just to let everybody know, the beings that you want to do the work with, that maybe being your loved ones, that's the hardest ones to do this work with, because there's history there. Yep. There's shared trauma there. And until you get over that trauma, it's very difficult to not rise to that trauma again, or at least that was my experience, and come from that place of trauma. And it was not, it had nothing to do with love or lack of love for the being. It had to do with my own trauma, and still does, because, we all have that within our feelings. James said the interesting guardians that are all around and stepping it up. Yes, I would say that. Okay, well, I'm not quite sure what's going on with that being, but we'll just send that being some love and let it go at that. But for me, to that point, having those that are on that same discovery path, that's really what it is. It's all very unique and shaped to each individuated portion of the all that is.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. But that's what makes it so much fun, is the discovery of, that's why I kind of liken it to a scavenger hunt.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
I don't think I got to share with you that I got another earworm that I was finally able to decode this morning. Yeah. And it feels very multidimensional and very, very much related to rebirth. At least for me, even if it doesn't for the entire world. But it's I couldn't decode it by myself. That was the interesting thing. It was the song Lightning Crashes by the group Live. And I've always had a special affinity for that song. And it's one of those that I have, sung at the top of my lungs in karaoke. And I always knew that it was all about the cycle of life, right? But there were parts in it that, for one thing, I never actually paid attention to all the lyrics. As a kid, you think the lyrics to a song and you're just singing them.
Yeah.
A lot of times it ain't even the right lyrics you're singing.
Yep.
Think you hear it on the radio because you hear it so much.
And then they don't even register as to what it's even talking about. Yeah.
So anytime I get an earworm, I always go and find the lyrics. And I'm sitting there listening to it. And this time, usually when I do that, I see exactly what it is my soul is trying to communicate to me. This time, that didn't happen until hours later. I'm sitting with Lisa, and she just innocently says, I'm feeling a weird pulsating feeling, almost very sharp in my womb, and it's regular and rhythmic. And all at once, I was shown in my head the song Lightning Crashes. And I went, oh, what? And I shared it with Lisa, and I saw it. I saw exactly what my soul was trying to communicate to me. That yes, on every level, that is what's happening here. All layers, multidimensional levels of creation are being rebirthed.
Mm.
And the speed with which it happens for each individuated portion of the all that is going to be perfect for them. And for the collective on the whole as well. Because of that, right? And it just, I don't know, when you go and look, it talks, and I saw the whole metaphor even within the lyrics of the song, because I'd never seen the lyrics about pulling from the center of the earth again. I can feel it. I'm sorry. It's just that didn't register with me.
Now you got it in my head.
Right? I'm just saying it was a huge veil for me that sort of dropped in a way that just, again, shifted that perspective and pulled it out a little wider for me. I don't know. Very interesting. I wanted to share that with you for some reason. I shared it in that live this morning
because it made me see something in a different light over here as well.
Oh, so, really?
Okay. What I heard, and even if you didn't mean it that way, it was a download of information for me coming through for me to see something in a different light, because I couldn't quite wrap my brain around. I understood it, but I couldn't quite see it in its totality. But so, I know as we heal, we open that gateway, that doorway for others to heal as well. That's on a collective scale. And I've also known it to be true that as we heal, we open the doorway for our other aspects to heal as well. So that in itself just really gave me this broader picture of what actually happened. So thank you. You did bring that for a reason, because
So let me ask you, because actually I got this huge surge of energy. When we show up in our transparent being with full open heart and do just what we desire, we affect so much, and we have no clue all of what we affect. And the moment we make any assumptions of that effect, then yes, we get that effect. And in a lot of cases, it's opposite too, because somebody somewhere along the way, the only way to understand this effect is to understand its opposite too.
Yep.
Right. I mean, and which is sort of why it feels to me what you just said there about something, my saying kicked something else loose for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is the reason why I've always felt like conscious conversations were important to have.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't matter anymore if people hear them. Well, there's only some folks, and I don't know if anybody will ever hear it. It doesn't matter to me anymore.
And like, so that's the best way that I could have put it before this moment just now was, I know I read you my little introductory thing when we were doing the kind of version of the consultation, right? And I said it's like a ripple effect. Yeah, so you just, yeah, in a different light, in a different perspective, in a different way, just opened up another big thing for me, seeing something.
Well, yeah, what James was saying there before about how the multidimensionality is really, really, really showing itself, at least it is to me, because I saw earlier, I don't know, there's been a lot about the four around me, right? The four corners, the four, right? There's a lot, I'm being shown a lot about that, right? And then I saw how, and then when one recognizes all that, and you and I have been also talking about the elements too, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was shown something about how I'm in the middle. The little me is in the middle of all of that four, right?
You just did it again.
And then it goes like this, and it becomes not just three-dimensional, but multi-dimensional on so many levels. I don't know. It's just, I can't even really explain what it is I'm seeing, but so
yeah, you just did it again, because I heard you're grounded in the middle, and then you came out and said, I'm here, I'm in the middle. That's so funny.
No, I love this. I love that this is happening, because, and I want to thank you too for sharing that with me. Because although I have to say, I'm well, no, I just know, because I've been feeling it. I've been asking for it. It's here, right? It is here, but having you validate it like that in the moment is very interesting.
Yeah, because I wasn't even going to, and then I was like, no, because validation, man, it just takes it to a whole nother level.
In truth, I will tell you something. I'm glad that you said that, because I have had a lot of I don't even know what to call it, but I have attended things where, the New Age or the Love and Light group will say, oh, you shouldn't need validation.
Oh, honey.
Well,
oh, honey.
From my traumatic standpoint, from where I was and how I were told that everything I heard, saw was a lie or not, I was lying or whatever. No, sorry, I require just a little bit of validation.
Well, where I'm coming from and working with energy and working with people, validation is everything. I mean, you can take it into any field you want to. Energy work. How is this feeling? I know what you should be feeling at this point, because I'm sending that particular something. What are you feeling? I'm not going to tell you, but right. Are we on the right track here? Let's talk about, let's say, a mediumship. I'm seeing a yellow book and it has the word such and such. Does that mean anything to you? They need validation. So, do we? Yeah, yes, we do.
No, I'm in agreement. That's why I said I have had some that would say, but
I've heard that too.
And I get that, but listen, and maybe I don't anymore, But oh wow, okay, that's very interesting. Um, so Fawn was saying that she has a drawing of the four corners and all of the collective in the center.
Ooh.
You see, there's a lot, and it's been swirling around me for the last little bit. That's what activated me with something with Julia Stubbe and why we had our conversation the other day. This conversation is like it is coming alive from my drawing. Oh, very interesting, Fawn. Well, I told you it's time. I have felt the gathering energies, and very soon I've just been shown that whether I am able to get candy fixed or not, there is to be some.
That noise has started again. Y'all let us know in the chat if y'all can hear it too. Now it's stopped.
Really?
Never mind.
Is it coming? Is that noise back?
It's when you speak that it.
Again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what this might be. I don't know, but it could. There is some. I'll use the word fuckery afoot. I don't know, and I don't know. I'm just saying that there seems to be something going on, and I just don't know what it is. So, perhaps it's time to end this one because I really don't know what's going on in there. But I do know that Fawn and James, you guys, I believe, are on my list to have conversations much like this, but in a private setting where this sort of thing that I'm seeing occur in the chat that I don't understand will not take place because it won't be live. But we will premiere it later live, which is my idea. So at any rate, thank you so much for coming and chatting about this with me.
Welcome.
And
Yeah.
and as we move forward, when I do have, was that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to end it. I love everybody. I do have a live coming up tomorrow with Andrew Foss at 10 a.m. I believe is our time. Let me just double check that so I don't say the wrong thing here because I'd like for everybody to know. Yes, at 10 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow, I will be having a live conversation with Andrew Foss. He is the administrator for the Oracle Report Facebook group, and he is also the author of astrogardens.com, which I highly recommend to everyone. He puts the daily astrology there. He puts also everything from about gardening, the almanac information. I've been growing my hair by cutting it based on Andrew's blog, and it really does work. So we're going to be chatting a bit about Chiron and Shariklo. And there is a way for folks to get their chart run by Andrew so that you can have your chart in your hand for tomorrow. Just go to oraclereport.com, click on the data tabs, and you can order your charts. I think it's a nominal fee, $5 per chart, something like that. He also did my astrocartography once, so we're gonna. I'm not sure what all we're gonna talk about tomorrow, to be honest with you, but we're gonna do that live at 10. So thank you, my love, so much, and I want everybody to hit you up for that free consultation. And
if you're ready to work on your multidimensional self, hit me up.
Yeah, because you've got so many tools in your arsenal to take care of that for folks. So that's a
screaming.
Is it really?
Yes. Oh no, it stopped.
Well, because is it now?
Now when you talk, it went again.
Yeah. See, isn't that? Well, I got a feeling it has something to do with what I'm seeing in the chat, because what's so weird is something will come up and then it says message rejected. I'm just going to say goodbye, everybody. So this will stop.